let's start with a little bit of context for the audience. I like to jump right into the conversation, so I'll do the intro for you. But it would be useful to know, like, what was the path that led you to Wahlburgers?
Sure. Well, I've been in the industry going on 32 years. Started out as a way to put myself through school and fell in love with it and ended up moving up throughout the ranks. I was general manager for many years, a couple different concepts, and regional, and then vice president. And I became a CEO in 2018 for a company that at that time had 52 restaurants, 5 brands. Fast forward 5 years later, we were at about 100 restaurants, 12 brands, and just a super dynamic growth vehicle from fine dining to casual dining and all kinds of fun things. And I actually met Mark Wahlberg at a luncheon. He's obviously affiliated with Fletcher tequila. We sold a lot of tequila. Got to meet him, have lunch. It was a small group, but he immediately sat next to me and started talking to me and wanted to know about, what I did and why and this and that and other, and start talking about his family. And it's almost like this gentleman's just talking to me like we've been friends. Got to know him a little bit. We were doing a couple new restaurant openings in New York. He happened to be in New York at the same time. He said he'd meet me there and he wanted to come help sponsor our restaurants. And it was just very, very unique that such a popular international celebrity, had interest not only in his tequila, but also obviously was super excited about what he saw and what we did. And came down, we got to know each other. And a few months, into that, he'd pick up the phone every once in a while and call and just say hi, and just really got to know me. And I was really wondering why. There's always got to be he could probably be friends with anyone he wants in the world. So why does he keep calling me? Well, he was interested in hiring me, and he was doing his homework, and he had been talking to folks in the industry, and he wanted to get to know me as a person. And he offered me an opportunity to come on as a CEO at Wahlburgers. And I needed to, again, I knew him at this point, and I knew quite a bit about the business, but I just needed to understand a little bit more. Obviously, I had a great position I was in, and it just became one of those situations where I needed to get to know a little bit more. So a few months down the road, I'm still asking questions, still talking about it, and it became an opportunity where I needed to make a decision whether I was going to stay where I was for the next 5 years or move on. And we had talked enough, and he got me excited enough about the opportunity where it was going to be this situation where it was a chain that had been around for, at that time, 13 years. It had quite a bit of success, but it really didn't have a direction that was very distinct and whatnot. And I took advantage of the opportunity, and I thought it was an exciting challenge. And one thing I did learn was, while it's celebrity owned, and Mark is the majority owner of the company, it's a brand that had a great product, has a great product, has even a better product today, but was typically kind of hiding behind that. It wasn't, the way I look at any sponsored brand is, it can't be the engine, it has to be the fuel. And that's really what we focused on when I told Mark when I was coming on board. This brand has to stand on its own. I love the fact that with your 32 million followers, we can get a lot of interest pretty quick in the brand. But I really needed to understand that. And it is a brand that can stand on its own, and it's a brand that is standing on its own. We needed that direction. And I think he was, hey, come on in. Whatever you need to do, I'm going to support it. And he has, and it's going on. I just hit my 2-year anniversary a few months ago, and it's been great. So that's the story of how I got here. And we got a lot of stuff we've done in the last couple of years since I've been here, but it was just one of those things where, hey, it was an opportunity, and it met the right timing, and he'd done his homework, and he actually seeked me out, which was pretty exciting.
I want to get into the deliberation process on whether you were going to take the opportunity or not, because I think that the lens through which you looked through is probably the lens through which we should all look at our businesses, right? And so I would assume, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but the foundational question when you look at Wahlburgers, when you look at any restaurant, is like, does this thing even need to exist? Right? Does the world need another burger joint? What does the world lose if Wahlburgers closes, right? Every new Mexican cantina that opens, you think to yourself, right. Really? Did we need one more?
Exactly. Is there a reason for it existing? I think is a good question. And my other question I always ask is this a sustainable business?
Sure.
And that was really what I wanted to understand. I mean, I've been doing this for quite a bit of time, and I've been blessed to have great teams around me, and I've had a pretty high level of success. So I needed to understand that. I also needed to understand, I've worked for private owners, I worked for private equity, I've worked for all different sorts. What was the commitment from not only Mark but the brothers? And it was 100%. They wanted it to be a successful brand. They wanted it to stand on its own. And after visiting several of them, I knew it has a great opportunity. And I think that there's some things that needed to change. And I presented those things before I agreed to come on board. And they were all, hey, great, let's do this. So
let's talk about those. So like when we look at the individual elements, right? I don't think anyone takes the big chair thinking, oh, this thing is perfect, I will coast, right? You come in, and I think you come in with a perspective, right? Like, this is what I think is working. This is what I think could use improvement. And this is my perspective on how we're going to execute those things. I can't imagine that anyone listening to the show isn't looking to improve their business kind of through that lens. And so when you triaged, when you inventoried the brand, what did you think was going really well to start?
I thought it was going really well is it was built on quality. It had a quality product. It stood for quality. I thought that there's still ways that we could actually improve the level of quality. And listen, if you have a burger in your restaurant's name, you know who you are. Let's stay who we are and stay focused. But this is the best quality product out there. Is it in the right markets, and go through it. And when I came on board, I would say the burger itself was good, really good. And obviously there was changes in the brand. The brand prior to COVID was one thing. Every brand went through their level of changes when COVID hit. That was a whole nother. We could have an entire segment on that, which we don't need to today. And then post COVID, there were some things that probably they could have gone back to the original a little quicker, is what I would say. And that's one of the things I recognized. I think we had an opportunity to up the quality a little bit better. And we had an opportunity. So this is a brand that is corporate owned stores. It's a brand that is franchised. It's a brand that is licensed. And it's a brand that has a retail component. There were 17 menus in about 98 outlets throughout the United States and abroad. It was insanity. And there wasn't a lot of control from the franchise community on what was being put on the menu, what wasn't being put on the menu. So it was one of those things where you had to kind of reel it in. So fast forward today, we have 3 menus. Okay, we have 3 menus. The brand is firmly defined in what I call our bar and grill or our freestanding location. Those do great. Okay, right, as long as you're in the right area. That's typically a breakfast, lunch, dinner, or lunch, dinner, full bar. Then you have our limited service model, which was probably more like 2,200. The full service is about between 4,000 and 6,000 square feet. The limited is, 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. And again, it does well. It does really well in casinos. It does really well in what we consider a captive market or arenas. But it's a limited service model that is proven. And then we have our captive markets, which are traditionally captive. They're airports, they're arenas. We do very well. And again, it was what was working, what wasn't working, right? We had I said 17 menus. We had a lot of things that wasn't working, but then it was defining. And then we had a high degree of what we would call non-traditional markets, and those were not working. And that was something that I identified quickly. We had a relationship with a grocery chain of all places where they actually, had made an agreement to open Wahlburgers inside their grocery store, which a lot of grocery stores do the restaurant side, but they did it so poorly. And it was such a poor representation of the brand. It was actually diluting and hurting the brand significantly. And that was one of the things that when I came in and said, hey, this needs to go. And it was, by store count, it was 70% of the stores, but it represented only about 10% of the profit, and it represented about 80% of the pain. And again, the brothers, they were so supportive of it. But I said, hey, listen, we're going to grow, but we're going to grow the right way, and we got to cut these things that are not working. So it's one of those. It was definitely, you don't usually walk in the door and say, hey, we got to cut all this out of here. But it was one of the best decisions we made, and it's really helped us put us in the position we are today. So.
It's counterintuitive though, isn't it? I mean, most people would think that you would come in and you would bolt all of these things on. I think I was probably a mediocre restaurateur, but a very good restaurant marketer. And what I figured out is that, great marketing isn't about bolting anything on. It's about stripping out everything that is non-essential, creating like the leanest, purest version of this brand so that it can be a category of one. And when I look at the last 2 years, I do see what you see. I see fewer deviations in menu. I see a much smaller menu, right? Which I think you would think people want everything all the time on demand. But all they really want is the thing that you're known for, the thing that you want, which is the other thing I think you've done really well, Randy. I think
it's a quality aspect, and if you become everything to everyone, it's really hard to actually be significant to anyone, really.
It is, but you've also clearly articulated, I see it in your marketing, you've clearly articulated like the role that you fill in people's lives. Like when you come to Wahlburgers, I don't think you have to wonder what you're going to get, right? And you could take notes from, Cane's or Burger King, right? Like the first time you go to Burger King, if you get the chicken sandwich, something has gone sideways, Randy.
Well said.
But I share that because like 80% of the people that dine with you are first timers. They have no idea how to engage with the brand. And I think you've just done a really good job of making it really easy to decide in a world that is wrought with decision fatigue.
We appreciate that. And, the proof's kind of in the results, and the company was up and say, so you have the company stores, you have the franchise community and whatnot. And the way I look at it is the company stores have to lead the way. You have to show everyone else what the brand is capable of doing. And they were up in sales all collectively in 2025, and they're up double digits in 2026 right now. And that's not a normal thing right now in the industry.
No.
There's a lot of headwinds out there, and there's a lot of challenges, but it's a testament to really clearly defining who we are and making sure we're really good at
it. I want to share one other thing with you that I thought you would appreciate is the person that probably orchestrated this thing. I think, and you would know the data better than me, but just having experienced a Wahlburgers recently, I'd be willing to bet that your attachment rate is stronger now than it was in previous years.
Yes.
And right. And like what everyone's going to tell you is like, we're going through tough economic times and people are spending less than ever before, and they're out spending less than ever before. But that's not exactly true. Also, someone could like lose their job today and still have dinner at Wahlburgers and be able to make rent. And so it seems like you've taken what is very conventional wisdom and turned it on its head.
It is. You gotta, hey, what is value? Value's defined as when the guest walks out. There's a lot of different ways people define it. When the guest walks out the door, were they happy? And really, we focused on that. We just focused on making sure we had a product that wasn't outpriced, but also was top quality, and it was served in the manner that you would want it served to you. And we really laser focus on this. And so now we've got these 4 models. We've got these 3 menus. That's it. And we do it well, and we do it great, and we hold ourselves to a very high expectation.
And let's talk about those differing use cases, because I would argue that your full service, let's call it full service restaurants, the bar and grill versions, they do a really great job of meeting expectation. That when you look at the smaller ones that are primarily based in manufacturing, that you do a superb job as it relates to manufacturing. Meaning like, right, the best burger served in 20 minutes tastes like shit. Right? Like what people want is they want their food. They want it now. And that is the nature. Talk to me about the executional standards that you inlaid, because again, they're not universal. They are predicated upon the individual models.
They are. And what we've done is when we redesigned the menu, we wanted to make sure. So you've got the full service menu is a bigger menu. It has a bigger variety of products. Obviously, we lead and finish with our burgers. We have a smash burger line now, which is just exploded, and it's really helped these other models, because if you really think about it, we have a gourmet burger. It's a 5/3 ounce patty. It's an amazing product that is better served in the full service, although we serve it in all models. But then we also have these other facets that allow us to serve a really high quality product that can compete with the fast casuals out there. And it's really not a fast casual brand. It can be, and it can compete with it, but you're getting a better quality product. And we really looked at that. And again, you think about what I mentioned earlier, 17 menus, and you just can't control any of that. And the quality wasn't always where it needed to be. And when you had these other models that people were expecting food to be fast, it wasn't coming out the way it needed to. So it's really about streamlining and understanding and really making sure as you're walking through, this business model works. It's a better product. It's competitively priced, or with some of the what would be considered fast casual or fast food, and it's served in a time frame that's acceptable.
And so let's talk about you make these tweaks, and then it's time to release it to the public. Marketing is the bottom of everybody's list in this industry, which is hilarious. But it's, where do you start? Did you focus on frequency and reintroducing the brand to the people that already know, like, and trust you? Or was it about that, the crack cocaine of our industry, new customer acquisition?
Well, I think it starts with the guests that have treated you well for a while. What we introduced, though, is we wanted to make sure we tested everything we did at our corporate location. So we make sure we streamlined the menus. We made sure that when we were doing the burger patty, the day we started working through it, we had 38 different blind tasting burger patties that I wasn't feeling very well by the end of the day.
I can imagine.
We did
that
sign
doesn't
off
even
that we
sound
had
fun.
the best product. And then we rolled it out to our corporate locations. Okay. We introduced it to our locals. We used, obviously we've got a competitive advantage, and we have some celebrities that Mark and his brothers that really help push it, but we really tested it in those markets first, and then we went everywhere, and it was a great recipe because it was proven. So
what does testing look like? It's when you've got one or two locations, like, you can move dynamically, right? You can test, you can iterate. And I think that all industries, but especially ours, it rewards speed, right? That you're able to iterate. It's I think that one of my keys to success as a restaurateur was that I thought like a restaurateur, but I behaved like a marketer. I was just in love with failure. I just want to get it out there. I want to see if it works, and then I'll adjust from there. Any feedback was good feedback to me. And that's just not true in the industry. The reason being primarily because you get direct feedback to your face, and nobody likes it when people talk smack directly to their face, right? You have this. No, they don't, right? This is the best burger I've ever made, and immediately somebody walks up and goes, "This is trash." So I think there's a lot of fear around that nature of direct feedback. How are you guys able to iterate and to iterate quickly, and how are you working to iterate more quickly over time?
Well, you have to have proof of concept. And again, being that we're corporate / franchise / license / retail, we got a pretty good size segment where the decisions we made, it was the burger patty, it was the bun, it was all the things that went into this great experience, along with a clean environment, great service, great hospitality, all these things. And then you retrain a restaurant with all these attributes when you believe in it and you really feel confident that you've hit it, and you retrain it, and then you track it. And then you watch the guest experience, and then that's the model. Then you document it all and say, guys, here's the business model, and that's our full service business model. That's what we did first, and then we reproduced that in what we call the favorites menu,
Sure.
which is the limited service. And now we're not. I mentioned non-traditional wasn't working then; it's working now with the partners we have then, and the difference being is the partners we had in the past, we had no control over the product that was being served. We weren't the operators. The group that had the agreement didn't really care what we thought about how it was being operated, made that change. Fast forward, we have some non-traditional out there that's just really helping introduce us into new markets. We have a significant partnership with Home Depot now. Home Depot's got a mantra where they want food service in front of every one of their outlets throughout the entire United States. And we've been lucky enough to be chosen as one of their partners. And it's just an amazing partnership. But the biggest difference is we have control. We have control of what's being served and how it's being served, and it's actually working. So,
what's your approach to LTOs, to getting people's attention? It's I think that as restaurateurs, we're obsessed with innovation, right? We love innovation, and yet everyone we serve comes in on the same day at the same time, sit in the same chair, and order the same food. They prize consistency. It's one of my favorite quotes from Anthony Bourdain. He said, "Consistency is the religion of our industry." How do you balance innovation with consistency?
So my theory / our strategy on LTOs, but I don't love the word limited time offer. I love the quarterly specials or whatnot, but it's really the same thing, where I think you have to, there's another saying in the business that if you're not evolving, you're slowly dying, right? So you want to stay to your core, but there's always opportunity to introduce new and exciting, because there's always things in the menu that's potentially not working. So we use the quarterly chef specials, or the quarterly specials, as a way of introducing products that we think should actually be on the menu and think should own menu space. And we measure it, and we obviously introduce it. We also put enough energy behind it to actually get the guest's attention on it. And then we measure how it does, and it performs at a high level. And I think I mentioned earlier the smash burger. Listen, we have a great traditional 5 1/3 ounce patty burger, but we want to introduce this. And now we actually have a whole entire section of smash burgers, because we've introduced them as our quarterly special. They've done so well. They compete, just under our top performers. Now they live on the menu, and then something else that didn't do as well is no longer on the menu. And that's an iteration process that we do every quarter.
Do you have a hard cap in terms of number of menu items? Because like creep is such a real thing. I consult for a juice concept. We've been together a while, and when I came to them, they've been around 11 years, Randy. And this is a quick service juice concept. Mm-hmm. And they had 50 items on their menu.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, man. 50 items and quick service, those two things do not go together. But it didn't start that way, right? And to say it out loud, I mean, it sounded crazy to them, but it's not like they started with 50. It evolves slowly over time. So how do you mitigate that?
Well, I think what that ends up happening is people become emotionally attached to menu items. And if you want to introduce new menu items, which I actually do agree with, you can't be emotionally attached to items that maybe you love, but your guests aren't really voting with it. They're not ordering them, but you have to very objectively look at what you need to remove. And I'm kind of a 1-to-1. If I'm going to add 2 items, I'm looking for 2 to remove, because as soon as you start to hit that limit of ability to execute the items the way you created them, you can't draw a blind eye on a Friday night. It's just not going to be coming out the way it needs to be if you've overloaded the kitchen with menu items that maybe just don't belong there, because you're serving 90% of your menu here, 5% here. This 3% is not really selling very much. It's not really that easy to execute, and it's messing up everything else.
Sure.
So you gotta just, brutal reality I use. Brutal reality is what really happens. You've put the game plan together, you've written it up, you've walked through it, and then what happens on Friday night? And that's the amount of menu items, that's the amount of staff on, have you made it overly complicated to be able to execute at the level you expect? Oh, that's where the game time is, right? And that's really where you learn everything, and you got to be present to actually learn that.
And so let's look at 12 months in. And I'm sure that you took the opportunity to review your overall performance. What assumptions did you make that held true? And what did you learn through that first year at the brand?
The assumptions we made, I feel very good about. What I would tell you is the decisions we made, I should have done them sooner. And we had a really good idea about 6 months in. We brought on some players that have really helped move the brand in the right direction, and that was done pretty immediately. And then we also had this level of decisions that we knew was the right thing to do, and it's people, product, place, right? And all three, we had a good idea. We waited. We should have done it a little bit sooner. And Mark and I joke around all the time. It's like, what took you so long? It's like, well, if you knew we needed to be there, you should have just told me. He goes, well,
sure.
It's validation. But we really, the funny thing is we ended up exactly where he really wanted to, but he's such a great entrepreneur. He's such a great leader and partner. He didn't want to tell us. I know now we are where he wanted us to be from a new product standpoint, from where we're growing. I was probably, very conservative in how quick, because I wanted to make sure we made the right decisions. And I said, I feel great about the decisions we made. You look back, say, why don't we do that sooner? Well, it doesn't really matter at this point. We did it, right?
Let's talk about profitable growth. So there are two ways to look at profitable growth, right? One is number of locations, and the other is like growing deep, right? Instead of growing wide. And like once you had scaled back to, you had gotten rid of 70% of the units, and you look at what's remaining, you could then choose to grow it, or you could choose to go deep, right? And how much money can we actually get our AUV to? What was your approach to growing deep with those initial corporate units? And then the other question is, Randy, like, how are you able to effectively roll that out through franchisees, right? Franchising is great, right? Franchisees are difficult. They're complicated, sure, right?
So going deep, we needed to introduce better technology first and foremost, because there wasn't a lot of visibility into the business. And if you want to drive traffic top line, you want to actually have a bottom line your product, and you can actually put it on a piece of paper and sell it as a franchise. We needed much better information, quicker, faster, more accurate. So we invested in better systems that really helped us analyze and helped us understand what was going on, from theoretical food costs to this, to that, to I can keep going on that. And that helped give us visibility, right? And then what I would tell you is, in order to take that, and then you had to show profitability from your visibility, but then you have to show that to your franchisees.
Sure.
The first, we do quarterly franchise business review with all our franchisees and licensees on the phone. And there was probably 3 people that showed up to the first one. And then, now they're packed houses virtually. But if we weren't set up to prove it to our franchise community, how are you going to get their buy-in? And that's
sure,
kind of a rear view mirror conversation now, because it's working, because we have shown it and proof of concept. And, we have the busiest location in the system now. It's corporate owned, corporate driven, and super profitable. We've been able to take these corporate locations, show their ability to grow, show their ability to innovate, show a better way of doing some products, and then we rolled out to the community, and it's been very well received at this point.
How do you ensure compliance?
Well, so that's one of the changes we made. We had a pretty big office on the East Coast, and I'm not the most popular person. If I go to Boston, there probably my pictures on the wall in a few places. But I ended up having to shut down the office on the East Coast because, first of all, it was too big. There was too many people in the office. It wasn't productive. And we shifted the dynamic to where, instead of people sitting in front of a computer, we actually introduced technology that can do what they were doing. Then we actually got a field. So we have a field team out there now that is in locations at minimum. Our regional that runs our corporate stores is in the restaurants every week, but at minimum, they're visiting every franchise location once a quarter. And we have franchises and licenses in Australia. And I have 2 folks on a plane right now as we speak. They left at 10 o'clock last night, so they're probably still on the plane heading to Australia for the audit. And that's really how you do it. You actually have to be there. Compliance is great on paper, but if you're not showing up and you're not validating, you're not going to be compliant long term.
How do you approach growth now? Is it you're looking for more franchisees? Are you looking for more corporate stores?
It's twofold. So there's a corporate component of it. I mentioned we have this great partnership with Home Depot. It's a licensee, but then we actually have the operations side of we work with them. So it's almost like a partnership with that licensee. So we have this growth opportunity that's probably the next 3 years is going to continue to grow. We have a partnership that we've recently rolled out, and with, and again, we look for great partners to help grow our product. Bass Pro has these amazing 50,000 square foot, Disneylands for certain people. Every one of them at some point had a restaurant in them. And every one, some are still operating, some were shut down, post COVID, whatnot. Bass Pro has a hotel called Big Cedar Lodge. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. The ground floor is a beautiful Bass Pro, a couple hundred rooms. There's a Wahlburgers in it. We actually acquired that Wahlburgers from one of our franchisees, completely changed it around, just really turned it into this amazing place for people to go. That's part of the hotel. We actually operate the whole hotel service now. We have a fine dining restaurant on top that we operate. We do all their catering and events, and then we have this Wahlburgers. Well, we have an opportunity to put about 20 of those now in Bass Pros throughout the United States. We have this great relationship with a couple casino partners that we own and operate the Wahlburgers in the Foxwood Casino in Connecticut. It's going to do north of $8 million this year. It's just a great story. These pieces of success have enabled us to have, so we have this great growth trajectory potential with casinos. We have this great growth trajectory with Bass Pro, Walmart, or Home Depot's rocking and rolling. And then we are bringing in new franchisees, but we're vetting them.
Right.
The first question is, why do you want to be a Wahlburgers franchisee? And if it's because I want to get closer to, meet Mark Wahlberg, we're saying no. And that's typically, there's so many great things that you could talk about being the partners of who I'm with. But some of the negative is some people typically want to come around for the wrong reasons. So you just vet them. And we have this, we would love to continue to grow our franchise. We have 5 locations opening up in Puerto Rico later this year. We have a great trajectory on the franchise side, but it has to be for the right people for the right reasons. And we've really, been able to put ourselves in a position where we can actually vet them the right way.
In my concepts, specifically the fine dining and in the fast casual, one of the paradigm shifts for me was corporate catering and private events. So eventually got to the point where that fine dining restaurant was just open 5 days a week to promote my private events business. Right. And that fast casual concept was open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to promote corporate catering. That's where all of the money was. That's where all of the volume was. You made reference to catering just now. How big of a slice of the business is it today? And is it something you're focused on growing?
It's actually one of our best stories. And again, it's a product that you can really scale on the catering side.
I agree.
It's a great, if you think these corporate lunches, it's a great, choice. And it's been a big part. I mean, our catering business is up 25% from the corporate standpoint. And again, it wasn't being done in a lot of the franchisees. It was met with a little bit of resistance. We had to prove the concept out. And now everyone's like, when are we signing it?
Right.
We'll get to you. But we rolled it out system wide to all the franchisees. And it's been a big piece. And again, you have the day-to-day stuff that's great, right? And if you have the right real estate, those day-to-day things are amazing. But there's these opportunities out there. If you can create a consistent catering and private event business, which we've been able to really capitalize on over the last year, it really sets you apart.
It does. I mean, what we're talking about here is we're talking about monthly recurring revenue. We're talking about annual recurring revenue. And it's at high margin, and there are no discounts. There are no freebies. That law firm that orders lunch twice a month, they just want to make sure it's good. It doesn't need to be cheap, right? Because they're going to expense it back to the clients anyway, Randy. Yeah. Right?
One pays for it, but you just want to you want to do your part, make sure you're serving the best quality product, and they're going to be ordering every Friday from you.
What's your perspective there? I'm sure that you guys are optimizing for inbound. Sure. Mm-hmm. Is there any outbound there? Are you training your franchisees on how to go out there and capture that business?
Absolutely. We call it our toolkit. So we have our LSM toolkit, local store marketing toolkit. So you have the inbound, and you have partners, obviously Easy Cater's one that comes to mind, and we're a significant partner with them, and they've done a really great job of helping us grow our catering business. Then you have outbound, but you also need a toolbox for that. You need to know all the kit, you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to know how to present it. So we have those marketing toolboxes for our franchisees it's really a how-to. We have the best LMS platform around. Our learning management system is, hey, I'll show you, I could teach anyone how to create our burgers because we have such great material now. That material didn't exist 2 years ago. It was, hey, this is how I do it. Come on over here. Let me show you. Come stand by me. So it's just a different world now. And it's really helped us, put ourselves in the position we are now.
I want to get into Fletcher, but before we do, you said it's a different world now. And it is, right, in terms of tools and all of that. But I mean, am I wrong in just saying so much of this is just fundamental? It's the boring stuff that no one wants to talk about. It is the unsexy things as it relates to ops and marketing that, like, done consistently well, can revolutionize a business. Am I off there?
I've been called boring more than once. In my last position, the company grew doubled in size, and profitability was great. And one of the things was, it's not very exciting anymore. It's pretty boring. Well, keep counting the money. So,
Right. Absolutely.
it's brilliant at the basics. There's a lot of, which would pick the acronym you want, but it's true. If you're, it's the foundation of our business. And if your foundation is intact and you have a great product and you pick the right real estate, you're going to be in a good place.
Let's talk about Fletcher. So you guys opened Fletcher Cantina. When I went from nightlife, I owned a bar in Hollywood, into fine dining. I thought about all of the things, before I got started that would translate over. And then, like, if I was to inventory those things in my head for you now, there would be nothing translated.
Yeah.
And then I learned so much through nightlife and fine dining that when I got into fast casual, I felt like I had a whole toolbox at my disposal. And as it turns out, I did not. Every tier of dining is a different customer
Completely.
with different motivations. And so I was always starting at zero. Mm-hmm. And you've been in all tiers of dining at this stage in the game, so you know what they all can afford. What made Fletcher Cantina an opportunity and not a distraction relative to the goals you had when you initially came on?
Well, Fletcher's, first of all, it's a separate company. Mark created it with his partners. He wanted to do something and wanted to continue to venture on. And obviously, I've got quite a bit of experience in multiple realms. So there's two things. It's creating a brand that I think we said in the very beginning should have a reason to be. What's different about it? And it's an elevated dining experience. It's not elevated pricing. It's called, the tagline is Mexican Redefined. What does that mean? Well, if you had a really, really nice elevated dining restaurant in Mexico City, Fletcher belongs there. And here's why: because it's got a little bit of Sonora, and it's got Baja Coast. It's got all these different attributes that are served in a better environment, and they're served with better hospitality. And those really the cornerstones. You have this great quality product that's made from scratch, that's studied, that comes from the chefs that are from different corners of Mexico. You've got this environment that's a beautiful restaurant and just different. It's just gorgeous. And then you have expectations on hospitality that's through the roof. But you're competing with what would other brands, in which I won't mention names, that are considered elevated in the Mexican space, but you're probably paying you're pricing a little bit more reasonable. So it's kind of that sweet spot. You have fine dining here, you have casual here, and you have this elevated experience that's really less expensive here, same experience, more price aligned with the casual, better experience. It's created a great environment. And it's one of those things where my partner's he's an entrepreneur, and he wanted to grow, and he wanted to create things that he's proud of. And I think that's the thing. And we lean on the team that's helped create it, and we trust their expertise, and we guide it. So it's not a distraction because it's a completely different team. First of all, it's a team that has expertise in that world, right?
Sure.
And it's no different than we have a team that has expertise in doing what we're doing every day. And then just same thing when we acquired the Memphis Pyramid property, that asset purchase. Well, Wahlburgers, we know. Well, we have a team that we've hired. It has a fine dining restaurant called The Lookout that's actually being renovated right now, and they're going to launch a new menu here in a couple of weeks. We have a team that we brought on that's their expertise. So it's really about guiding, and it's really about help directing in the right direction. But it's also making sure you have the right team that understands that, because it is a completely different world. Hospitality is the same everywhere. Different, ways to have a meal. Some are transactional, some are experiential, and you have to define which ones they are. We actually have some great experiential defining our dining experiences with Wahlburgers, and that's the full service market. And these are these attributes you have to hit when you're. Then there's more of the transactional, which are the fast casual. Okay, you still have to smile, still have to make sure people feel welcome, and you have to be super efficient. And it's just, we want to make sure we got the right people in the right place, and then our job's to guide them and direct them and show them what that means and understand that. Because if you come from a fine dining experience, you're trying to open a fast casual and you try to bring a lot of that over, you're going to be in trouble. So
I want to talk about AI because you keep bringing up the right people. And I think that definition is changing. And I think it's changing rapidly, mainly because of leverage. I think that in most industries, AI is going to be very disruptive, potentially in a negative way. Mm-hmm. In our industry, I think it's going to be transformative in a really positive way. I think it's going to drop our cost of goods. I think it's going to decrease labor. I think it's going to enhance labor through hyper-personalization. I see all of these very exciting things. And I don't see them coming in 5 years. I see them coming in 5 weeks. I see so many of them in there today. And so what I've started doing in my own company is no matter who I hire, no matter what the role is, when I hire a client success manager, I hire a client success manager that's deeply seated in AI, right? Mm-hmm. If I hire a copywriter, I'm not hiring somebody that can create best-in-class copywriting. I'm hiring someone that understands AI that can replicate my copywriting. And so as you're building out these teams, how does AI play a role, and has it become table stakes as it relates to you growing your bench?
Table stakes is a tough one, but what I would say, it's super important because you're in a business that the quicker you get information, the better off you're going to be. AI it gives you quick information. It gives you relevant information. It's actually, I wouldn't call it a part of your team, but it needs to be a piece of your business. And
for sure,
I think that if you're able to leverage, you can help you write a better menu. It can help you analyze some macroeconomic issues. It can help you analyze some food cost opportunities. And if you leverage it's going to put you ahead. And whether it saves a body or two, that's probably accurate too. But what it's going to do is it's going to give you better information quicker.
100%.
And you have to use it that way. And it's like everyone talks about AI and then they talk about this. The restaurant's never going to have a successful restaurant will never have a robot serve you if you expect hospitality. But if you use technology the right way, it's going to actually give that person more time to actually do a better job serving you. So
100%. I've got one last question for you, and then I'll leave you alone, Randy. Uh-huh. What should we steal from you? I don't know if they're successful people or if they're just like people that do successful habits consistently. What are the tactics, tools, and strategies that have served you well throughout your life and career that we could emulate so that we could experience the same benefit?
Well, I gotta, I'll take that. First of all, I'm blessed. The team around me is amazing. And I appreciate them every day. The one thing I would say, and is one of the reasons why that I was super interested when I was approached by Mark, is his work ethic and his drive. And it's second to none. And everything you see in social media, everything you look at, it's legitimate. It's real. I've been in the gym with him at 4 a.m. It's not the funnest experience in the world. It's real. He's the most disciplined person I know. And the one thing that I saw, whatever you want to do, I've always felt that you have to put the time, effort, and you have to put the discipline in to be successful. And I think the key on that is no one's ever going to outwork me. I'm going to be relentless, and I'm going to learn from people around me. And I always watch, always learn. And every day there's something else I can do better.
We did it, Randy.